So the materials that are to be transported in plants are the following. First one is the water. Second one is mineral elements or mineral nutrients. The third one is organic solutes or organic nutrients. And the fourth one is phytohormones, etc. These are the various materials that are to be transported in plants from one part of the plant to the other part. And this transport, it can be broadly categorized into two types. That the first one is short distance transport. Short distance transport. And the second one is long distance transport. Two types. You can classify this transport into these two categories. What is meant by the short distance transport? That is transport of materials over a smaller distances, like cell to cell. So the intracellular, cell to cell or intracellular. These are the distances which are covering smaller distances, cell to cell or intracellular plant parts. And for this cell to cell or intracellular, this type of transport always takes place by means of the process called diffusion. So the transport of materials over a short distances can be facilitated by means of this process called diffusion. By this diffusion, materials can be transported from one cell to another cell or from the one part of the cell to another part. That is called as intracellular. There is another category that is called long distance transport. This it includes the transport of water from the soil to the tip of the plant. It may be 100 meters or 110 meters height. And this long distance transport takes place by means of a process called translocation. This process is called translocation. And this translocation normally takes place by means of the vascular system that is present in plants, by vascular system. The vascular system includes xylem and phloem, as you know already well. The xylem is mainly meant for the transport of water from the soil to the tip of the plant body, and the phloem is responsible for the transport of organic nutrients from the leaf to the root system. So this is called long distance transport. And if we discuss these things, so now we have categorized this transport into these two types: short distance transport and long distance transport. The short distance transport is normally carried on by means of this process called diffusion. The first one is diffusion. And there is also another process that is called cytoplasmic streaming. Diffusion means movement of molecules or ions from a region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration from cell to cell. This is normally carried on from cell to cell. That is by means of diffusion. Suppose the another thing is cytoplasmic stream, that is the movement of materials from one part of the cell. Suppose if this is the cell, this is the nucleus. Suppose if proteins are transported, if the proteins are to be transported within the cell, this is normally carried on through the help of cytoplasm. So cytoplasm, by means of its streaming movement, these proteins can be transported from one part of the cell to another part. That we call it as intracellular transport. The cell to cell transport is called as intracellular transport. And the long distance transport is normally facilitated by means of this system known as vascular system. This vascular system, the vascular system is of two types. The first one is xylem and second one is phloem. Xylem is mainly meant for the transport of water. Phloem is mainly meant for transport of organic nutrients, transport of water and mineral nutrients. So xylem is mainly meant for the transport of water and mineral nutrients from the soil to the tip of the plant, that is longer distance. Similarly, phloem is responsible for the transport of organic nutrients from leaf. So this is from soil to tip. This is from leaf to root. So this type of transport is called as translocation. Translocation is the term that is mainly used for the transport of water, mineral nutrients and organic nutrients in plant body, because they have to cover longer distances. Say for example 100 to 110 meters of length is to be transported. This process is known as translocation. Transport. So previously we have discussed about what are the materials that are to be transported in plants. Now we are going to discuss about the direction of the transport. From which part of the plant to which plant the transportation takes place. Suppose if we take water and mineral nutrients. Normally these are available from the soil. So the root system is mainly responsible for the absorption of this water, and from the root system the water is transported to the tip of the tree over longer distances. And this movement is known as, this always takes place, this direction is known as unidirectional transport. Unidirectional transport. So the movement of water from the soil to the tip of the tree is known as unidirectional transport. Suppose if you observe this is the tree and this is the root system, and water is available here, and this water is absorbed and it will go in this way. Water is transported in an upward direction. This type of movement is known as unidirectional transport. Water always moves from the soil to the tip of the tree against the gravitational force. This is known as unidirectional transport. Unidirectional transport. And second thing is organic nutrients. These organic nutrients are synthesized in the leaf by means of a process called photosynthesis. Suppose if we take a stem and this is the leaf where the food materials are synthesized, and these food materials are entering into the phloem, and through this phloem the transport takes place towards the root system. This is also unidirectional. Unidirectional transport. So in the same way as in the case of water movement, food materials are also transported from the leaf to the root system through the tissue known as phloem. So it is also unidirectional. But sometimes there is the materials that are present inside the plant body in toto, they distribute in all the parts of the plant body in a multi-directional manner. So we can also categorize this movement as multi-directional. Unidirectional unidirectional two types, from soil to the movement of water from the soil to the tip of the plant, and also the movement of food materials from the leaf to the root. Normally they occur in a unidirectional manner, but if we take up the transport as a whole, almost all the materials in the plant body, they move in a unidirectional way, and they supply the materials to all the plant parts, and we can also describe this type of movement as multidirectional movement. So normally the transport, the direction of the transport is unidirectional, as in the case of xylem for the movement of water, or also unidirectional for the movement of food materials from the leaf to the root, and also we can also call it as multidirectional when we take up the movement of the total materials that are present inside the plant body. This is growth promoting plant growth regulators are also there. These are also called as phytohormones, and these phytohormones also they transport from one part of the plant to the other part, and they exhibit a phenomena called polarity. So on the basis of this polarity, so if we take up the stem tip, the auxins which are produced from the stem tip, they move in a basipetalous manner and they reach towards the basal regions of the plant body. This is called polarity. So the movement of plant growth regulators inside the plant body is also comes under this transport, and this phenomena always takes place by means of polarity. There is also a movement of nutrients from older parts to younger parts. This is called senescence. Suppose when a plant organ becomes older, the materials, the nutrients that are present in that older part, they are also transported from their place of origin to the younger parts where they are utilized. This is also a type of transport that is observed in plants. So by means of this, we can clearly say that as we see the transport in our daily life, in plant body also, దాన్ని మనం రవాణా అని అంటుంటాము. అది తెలుగు టర్మ్స్ రవాణా అని అంటుంటాము. మీకు అందరికీ ఐడియా ఉంటుంది. రవాణా అనగానే మనం ఇప్పుడు ఏదైనా ఒక ప్లేస్ నుంచి ఇంకో ప్లేస్కి వెళ్ళాలంటే వీ యూజ్ సమ్ 2-wheeler ఆర్ 4-wheeler ఆర్ బస్ ఏదో తీసుకొని మనం ప్రయాణం చేస్తూ ఉంటాము. ఇన్ ద సేమ్ వే ప్లాంట్లో కూడా దేర్ ఆర్ సో మెనీ సబ్స్టెన్సెస్, పదార్థాలు ఉంటాయి. అండ్ దీస్ సబ్స్టెన్సెస్ ఆల్సో దే టేక్ వన్ ఆర్ అదర్, ఏదో ఒక మెథడ్ని తీసుకొని దే ట్రాన్స్పోర్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ వన్ పార్ట్ టు ది అదర్ పార్ట్, అండ్ ఆల్ దీస్ సబ్స్టెన్సెస్ ఆర్ యూటిలైజ్డ్ బై ది ప్లాంట్ బాడీ ఫర్ ఇట్స్ గ్రోత్ అండ్ డెవలప్మెంట్. బట్ దేర్ ఈస్ ఏ వెల్ డిఫైన్డ్ ట్రాన్స్పోర్ట్ సిస్టమ్ ఇన్సైడ్ ది ప్లాంట్. మనం మామూలుగా మనం రోడ్డు మీద రవాణా జరుగుతున్నప్పుడు యాక్సిడెంట్స్ అవి ఇవి జరిగి మనం చూస్తూ ఉంటాము, డేంజర్స్. అలాంటి యాక్సిడెంట్స్ ఏవి కూడా ప్లాంట్ బాడీలో జరగవు. ఈ రవాణా అనేది ప్లాంట్ బాడీలో ఒక సిస్టమేటిక్ పద్ధతిలో వితౌట్ ఎనీ క్లాష్, వితౌట్ ఎనీ క్రాష్ జరుగుతూ ఉంటుందన్నమాట. దట్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్. వీ కెన్ గో ఇన్ టు ది డీటెయిల్స్. The first one is diffusion. Now the modes of transport. Modes of transport. The first mode is diffusion. దీన్నే వ్యాపనము అంటారు, ఆర్ విసరణము అని అంటారు. Diffusion means the movement of molecules or ions from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. అయానులు లేక అణువులు అధిక సాంద్రత గల ప్రదేశం నుంచి అల్ప సాంద్రత గల ప్రదేశానికి చూపించేటువంటి ఆ మూమెంట్ ఏదైతే ఉంటుందో చలనము, దట్ ఈస్ దాన్ని విసరణము లేక వ్యాపనం అని అంటారు. దట్ ఈస్ డిఫ్యూషన్. దిస్ డిఫ్యూషన్ ఈజ్ ఏ వెరీ స్లో ప్రాసెస్. చాలా స్లోగా జరుగుతుంది. ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ స్లో ప్రాసెస్. సో డిఫ్యూషన్ ఆల్వేస్ టేక్స్ ప్లేస్ from a region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. There is no need of any metabolic energy for this process. So it is a passive process. It is a passive process. And for this diffusion is normally exhibited by liquids and gases. Liquids and gases inside the plant body. In plant body, normally diffusion takes place for the movement of various gases like oxygen. So movement of oxygen and carbon dioxide and also water vapor. Water vapor in the plant body, the movement of oxygen, carbon dioxide, water vapor inside the plant body, it takes place through this process called diffusion. So diffusion is a very simple process and it is a very slow process. There is no need of any metabolic energy for this process. So it is a passive process and it is normally observed in the movement of these liquids and gases in plant body. For this gaseous exchange, as you know that plants require carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. So that carbon dioxide from the atmosphere enters into the plant body by means of this diffusion. Similarly, oxygen that is produced during this process, it is also sent out by means of this process, that we call it as gaseous exchange. Then వాయువుల వ్యాపనము లేక వాయువుల విసరణ ఈ డిఫ్యూజన్ అనే పద్ధతి ద్వారా జరుగుతూ ఉంటుంది. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ ఏ కామన్ ప్రాసెస్ దట్ ఈస్ నార్మలీ అబ్జర్వ్డ్ ఇన్ దిస్ ప్రాసెస్ కాల్డ్ డిఫ్యూజన్. ఫర్ దిస్ డిఫ్యూజన్ it is called as passive process, or we can also call it as passive transport. Passive transport. For this, no metabolic energy is required. No metabolic energy is required. Just concentration, సాంద్రత భేదం ఉంటే సరిపోతుంది. అధిక సాంద్రత గల ప్రదేశం నుంచి అల్ప సాంద్రత గల ప్రదేశానికి అయానులు కానీ లేక అణువులు కానీ చూపించేటువంటి చలనం అన్నమాట ఈ డిఫ్యూజన్. ఇది చాలా సింపుల్గా ఉంటుంది, సరళంగా ఉంటుంది. అయితే దిస్ ప్రాసెస్ ఈజ్ స్లో. ఇట్ ఈస్ వెరీ స్లో ప్రాసెస్. చాలా నెమ్మదిగా జరిగేటువంటి ప్రాసెస్. దిస్ డిఫ్యూజన్ ఈజ్ ఆఫ్ 2 types. Is of 2 types. The first one is simple diffusion. The second one is facilitated diffusion. For this simple diffusion, there is no need of any facilitator. సహాయకుడు ఏది కూడా దీనికి అవసరం లేదు. Just concentration, if we maintain the concentration gradient from higher to lower, the molecules or ions will move without the help of any other foreign ion. That's called simple diffusion. This simple diffusion is without the help of any carrier molecule. దీనికి ఏమి కూడా వాహకము అనే ఒక అణువు అంటూ ప్రత్యేకంగా ఏం అవసరం లేదు. సాంద్రతా భేదం ఉంటే సరిపోతుంది. ఫ్రమ్ హైయర్ టు లోయర్. ఇప్పుడు సపోజ్ ఆక్సిజన్ ప్లాంట్లోకి ఎంటర్ అవ్వాలనుకోండి ఫర్ రెస్పిరేషన్. సో ఫ్రమ్ ది అట్మాస్ఫియర్ వేర్ ది ఆక్సిజన్ కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ ఈజ్ మోర్, సింప్లీ ఆక్సిజన్ transports into the plant without the help of any other carrier. This is called simple diffusion. The second important item under this diffusion is facilitated diffusion. This is somewhat different. Facilitated diffusion normally, if we observe the plasma membrane, this is the plasma membrane. Inside the plasma membrane there is a lipid layer. Lipid layer. And any molecule that enters into the plant, first of all, it should be dissolved in this lipid layer. ఆ లిపిడ్ లేయర్లో డిజాల్వ్ అవ్వకుండా లోపలికి వెళ్ళాలి. If that material or if that molecule it is not dissolved in the lipid, it won't enter into the cell on its own accord. అంటే తనంతట తానుగా ఈ మాలిక్యూల్, ఇక్కడ ఒక మాలిక్యూల్ ఉంటుంది, తనంతట తానుగా లోపలికి వెళ్ళదు, బికాస్ ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ సాల్యుబుల్ ఇన్ ద లిపిడ్. If it is soluble, it can enter. Suppose then, if a molecule is not able to pass through the lipid layer of the plasma membrane, that is one condition. Suppose if this molecule is having any hydrophilic moiety. Suppose if this molecule has any hydrophilic molecule attached to its side chain, that molecule with hydrophilic moiety also it cannot pass through the plasma membrane because of that property, and then we require this facilitated diffusion. So facilitated diffusion is observed in such molecules which are not soluble in the lipid layer of the plasma membrane, or if that molecule has any hydrophilic moiety attached to its side chain. In such case, we require some carrier molecules, and those carrier molecules, they are nothing but they are nothing but proteins, and those carrier proteins, carrier proteins these carrier proteins, they picks up that molecule, and with the help of this, the molecule is liberating is inside the cell, is outside. So this is called facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion is exactly similar to diffusion. It is also facilitated diffusion. It is also a passive process. No energy is required, but it requires certain carrier proteins inside the plasma membrane, and these carrier proteins, they are present inside the plasma membrane. They picks up those molecules, and those molecules are, along with this carrier protein, they are transported into the cell like this. Suppose if this is the plasma membrane, this is image side of this cell, this is plasma membrane. Molecules. This is carrier protein. So for this facilitated diffusion, there are certain carrier proteins are there inside the plasma membrane, and these carrier proteins, these are specific. These are specific for each and every molecule. These are ions, these are molecules. So during this process, a carrier protein picks up a molecule. ఇక్కడ ఈ molecule ఇలా picks up చేసుకుంటుంది. Carrier protein, it picks up one molecule and it will develop into a complex, and this carrier protein, it rotates in this plasma membrane, and it will come to this direction, and the molecule will come to this side, and slowly it is released into the inner part of the, or inside the cell. This is outside the cell. Suppose if these molecules are required by the cell, these molecules, they cannot directly pass through the plasma membrane because they are insoluble in the lipid membrane. So these molecules are picked up by some carrier proteins which are present inside the plasma membrane, and these carrier proteins, after receiving a molecule, they rotate, they develop into a complex and they rotate, and these molecules are coming nearer to the inner membrane, and these are released into the inner side of the cell. This is how the facilitated diffusion takes place. So the difference between diffusion, simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion is both are passive process. Simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion, both are passive. There is no need of any energy requirement, and both are slow processes. But only thing is, these carrier proteins are required for pick up the required molecules from outside into the plant body, and these carrier proteins are specific. ఒక్కొక్క మాలిక్యూల్కి ఒక్కొక్క క్యారియర్ ప్రోటీన్ స్పెసిఫిక్గా ఉంటుంది ప్లాస్మా మెంబ్రేన్లో. సో దీస్ ఆర్ స్పెసిఫిక్, అండ్ దీస్ ఆర్ యాక్టివేటెడ్ బై సమ్ హార్మోన్స్, and these carrier proteins are saturated. Suppose after the migration of all these molecules from the inside to the outside, these carrier proteins, they may become saturated. So they are under the saturation point. They are inhibited by certain enzymes, or they are inhibited by certain hormones also. They are specific in their action, but there is no need of energy for this facilitated diffusion. So now coming to these carriers. Types of carrier proteins. There are three types. Suppose if you take up diagrammatically, we can describe these three types. This is plasma membrane. Suppose if this is one carrier protein, it allows for the movement of only one molecule or only one ion in one direction. This is outside, this is inside. If a carrier protein allows only one molecule at a time from outside to the inside of the plant cell, this system is known as uniport. This is called uniport, and this protein or the carrier protein is called as uniporter. The protein is called as uniporter. The system is called as uniport. Uniport కాన్సెప్ట్ ఏంటంటే, ఈ యూనిపోర్ట్ ఎప్పుడు కూడా ఒకే ఒక అణువుని తన గుండా లోపలికి ఒకేసారి పంపిస్తుంది. సో ద మూమెంట్ ఆఫ్ మాలిక్యూల్ ఈస్ ఫెసిలిటేటెడ్ ఓన్లీ ఇన్ వన్ డైరెక్షన్ without the help of any other molecule. This is called uniport, and the protein is called as uniporter. There is also another type of this carrier protein, where we can observe simultaneously two molecules at a time. They can be transported from outside to the inside. This system is known as symport. This system is called symport, and this protein is called as symporter molecule. There is another third type of, where we can observe the movement of molecules in different directions. ఇక్కడ నుంచి ఒకటి వస్తుంది బయట నుంచి, ఇంకోటి లోపల నుంచి బయటకు ఒకటి వస్తుంది అనమాట. దిస్ ఈజ్ కాల్డ్ antiport or antiporter. So the carrier proteins are of three types: uniporter, symporter and antiporter. In the case of uniporter system, there is only a single molecule is transported with the help of that protein. in one direction. In the case of symbiote, two molecules simultaneously they move in the same direction into the cell. In the case of antipode, two molecules in two different directions they exhibit movement from outside to the inside. So these are the three types of carrier proteins normally present inside the plasma membrane. Type of proteins, these are we have discussed the passive transport only. Both diffusion and facilitated diffusion they come under passive transport because there is no need of any metabolic energy for the transport of molecules. This is a second concept for this transport that is known as active transport. This active transport is faster. It is faster, and it requires metabolic energy. It requires metabolic energy. It is an uphill process where the movement of molecules always takes place from lower concentration to higher concentration. So here movement always takes place against concentration gradient, and here also carrier proteins are required for this process, and these carrier proteins are called as pumps. These are called as pumps. Facilitated diffusion లో ఇంతకు ముందు కూడా మనం క్యారియర్ ప్రోటీన్స్ అని చెప్పుకున్నాము. వాటిని క్యారియర్ ప్రోటీన్స్ అంటారు. But the carrier proteins that are involved in active transport are called as pumps because these carrier proteins require energy. అక్కడ ఎనర్జీ ఉంటేనే అవి పనిచేస్తాయి అన్నమాట. ఆ ఎనర్జీని ఉపయోగించుకొని అవి మాలిక్యూల్స్ని అవుట్ సైడ్ నుంచి ఇన్సైడ్ ది ప్లాంట్ బాడీకి పంప్ చేస్తూ ఉంటాయి అన్నమాట. దే యాక్ట్ యాజ్ పంప్స్ అని, సోడియం పంప్స్ అని, పొటాషియం పంప్స్ అని ఇలాగా అవి పనిచేస్తూ ఉంటాయి. సో దే ఆర్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ పంప్స్. దేర్ యాక్షన్ ఈజ్ నోన్ యాజ్ uphill ప్రాసెస్. uphill from lower to higher. అదే సపోజ్ facilitated diffusion అనుకోండి, they are downhill concentrations and downhill processes and so we can so this active transport, it is a very faster process and it requires metabolic energy and it is a uphill process and it always movement takes place against concentration gradient, and these carrier proteins are also called as pumps. Sometimes these are also called as porins. These porins are large sized proteins. They act as carrier proteins, and especially they made pores on the membranes of the chloroplasts and mitochondria, and they are useful for the transport of somewhat bigger molecules which are similar in size as that of the proteins, and such carrier proteins which are of larger size and which make holes or pores on the membranes of mitochondria, plastids and bacteria, they are called as porins. And some aquaporins are also there. Aquaporins, and these aquaporins are mainly responsible for the transport of water from outside to the inside, and these aquaporins are octamers. They are made up of 8 proteins. So these are the porins which are larger in size, and these porins are also sometimes they act as channels. These proteins are also act as channels, and these channels are helpful for the movement of molecules from lower concentration to higher concentration, that is known as agonist concentration gradient. So far we have discussed about diffusion, facilitated diffusion and active transport. Coming to the comparison between these three aspects, here is a table it will give you an idea about what are the differences between these three items. The comparison of different transport mechanisms. The property, the first one property, second one is simple diffusion, FD, facilitated diffusion, and active transport. In the first property, regarding the first property, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Regarding the first property, it requires a special membrane proteins. For simple diffusion, there is no need of any proteins for the movement, but for facilitated diffusion and active transport, membrane bound proteins are required. Yes. Here, no. And the second property, highly selective. These membrane proteins are highly selective. For simple diffusion, there is no requirement of any protein, carrier protein, but for FD and active, these carrier proteins are required, and these are specific, or these are selective in their action. And if you come to the third property, transport saturates. So for simple diffusion, there is no participation of these transport or carrier transports, but for the FD and active transport, these carrier proteins are required, and they undergo saturation. Transport saturates. Whenever these carrier transports are become exhausted in the plasma membrane, the entire transport machinery will become stopped. And uphill transport. Our simple diffusion, it is not uphill, but it is downhill, because it always occurs from higher to lower, so it is a downhill. But the other two, facilitated diffusion and active transport, these are uphill transports, because transportation takes place from the region of lower concentration to higher concentration, and requires ATP energy. ATP energy. Here, yes. For simple diffusion, there is no need of any energy. For facilitated diffusion also, there is no need of any metabolic energy. For this active transport, metabolic energy is required. And this table will give you an idea about the transport mechanisms that are present for the diffusion of the molecules from outside to inner side of the plant body.
Oh, short chesa.
Plant water relations. Now the second aspect under this chapter, active transport, is how water is essential for the plant body. As you all know, plant requires water for performing its various metabolic activities like photosynthesis, respiration, protein synthesis. For all these processes, water is required. And you know that how the plants will get their water requirements. Normally, all plants require their water requirements or obtain their water requirements from the soil. The soil acts as the reservoir for the water. The main aspect for the absorption of this water by the plants from the soil, it is normally referred to as water potential. So by this concept that is called as water potential, this term water potential was introduced by Sladier and Taylor. Water potential means the kinetic energy of water molecules. Kinetic energy of water molecules, normally it can be explained by this concept known as water potential. So whenever the kinetic energy of water molecules is higher, we can definitely say the water potential of that particular cell is at a higher. Normally, whenever water is at higher concentration of water, the kinetic energy is also more. Suppose when there is the water concentration is more, naturally you know that soil contains the water, so the water content or the water concentration inside the soil is always at a higher level. So the kinetic energy of the water molecules is also higher. So the kinetic energy is always directly proportional to the kinetic energy of the water molecules. So inside the soil, the water potential value is always higher. So in the soil, the water potential is represented by this symbol. We can also call it as psi. This is the symbol for water potential. So in the soil, the water potential is always higher. Water always moves from a region of higher concentration to from a region of higher water potential to the region of lower water potential. So soil has higher water potential. So from the soil, water always enters into the root hair. So the soil has higher water potential and root hair has lower water potential. So by this water potential, we can explain how the water moves from one part of the from soil into the plant body, or from one cell of the plant body to other cell. So all this we can explain as water potential gradient. So water is normally absorbed by the plants from soil, and for this absorption, this water potential plays a very important role. The water potential means the kinetic energy of the water molecules present in that particular system. The greater the kinetic energy, the greater will be the water potential. So the water potential of the soil water is always more when compared with the plant body. So water always moves from the soil into the root hair. Okay? Water always moves from a region of higher water potential to the region of lower water potential. The water potential value maximum water potential value is 0. But in any system, at a standard temperature and pressure, if you take a pure water or a distilled water, for a distilled water, the water potential is always great, or it is always higher. The maximum water potential is always 0 at standard temperature and pressure. So if you take up a pure water, it contains almost all centipercent water molecules. So the kinetic energy of the water molecules is always at a higher rate, hence the water potential is also maximum, but the maximum water potential value is always calculated as 0, because there is no reaction takes place in that water, because it contains only water molecules. So that is also known as, the water potential is also known as its chemical potential. Then chemical potential like rasayanik sakmam and kudantaru. So water potential for a pure water is always at 0. That is the maximum value at standard temperature and pressure. If we add any solute, so this water potential is very essential for the absorption of water by the root system from the soil. And this water potential is normally represented by means of this symbol called psi W, or simply we can also call it as psi. It is a Greek symbol. Its value is always negative. Psi value is always negative. And this psi value can be measured in bars or are megapascals. The water potential can be measured in these units called bars or megapascals. 1 megapascal MPa is equal to 10 bars. 10 bars. So we can convert these bars into megapascals or megapascals into bars. Normally, suppose if it is a pure water, if we take pure water, its psi W value is 0 or maximum. If you take pure water, its water potential value is always maximum. It is always at 0 at the maximum. Suppose if we add any solute, Suppose if we add any solute to this pure water, if we add any solute to the solvent, we will get solution. And for this solution, the water potential value will be decreased. This is the important point. For any solution, the water potential value is negative. Negative means less than 1. Sorry, less than 0. Then here the concept you should bear in mind. The concept is for pure water, the water potential value is maximum, that is 0. If we add any solute to that water, to that solvent, it will become a solution. For any solution, the water potential value is always negative. It is always less than 0. So we can represent it as, so this lesser value or the value that is less than the 0 for the pure water, that value can be represented as solute potential. This is called solute potential. It can be represented as psi S, solute potential. The first one is water potential. Water potential for pure water is 0. If we add any solute to that water, it will become a solution where we can have this phenomenon called solute potential. The magnitude of the value that is less than the 0 కంటే ఎంతైతే తక్కువ వస్తుందో, that value can be represented as solute potential. It is represented as psi S symbol and its value is also negative. It can be measured in bars or megapascals as in the case of this water potential. Both the water potential and solute potential are directly proportional to each other, and both are inversely proportional to concentration of solute. Suppose if you go on adding the solute to that solvent, the water potential both are inversely proportional to the concentration of the solute. If we increase the concentration of the solute, the value of the solute potential will become low. Solute concentration పెంచుతూ ఉంటే ఆ solute potential value తగ్గిపోతుంది, water potential value will become more. So you should bear in mind, this is very important concept. Both are inversely proportional to concentration of solute. Solute అంటే ఇక్కడ ద్రావితము అంటారు. ద్రావితము సాంద్రత ఎక్కువవుతున్న కొద్దీ దాని యొక్క solute potential value తగ్గుతుంది. solute concentration తక్కువగా ఉంటే solute potential value ఎక్కువగా ఉంటుంది. That is very important concept. And these things, there is another point. So we have discussed so far 2 items: water potential and solute potential. At atmosphere, there is another point you see. At atmospheric pressure, both psi W and that is water potential and solute potential, they become equal at atmospheric pressure. If there is any increase in the atmospheric pressure, the water potential value will be increased. If there is an increase in the water potential of any system, water will move from one cell to another cell. There is another aspect called pressure potential. Pressure potential. It can be represented as psi p. At atmosphere pressure, psi w becomes always equal to psi s. If there is increase, if we increase the atmospheric pressure, the psi w value will become more. Now water moves. Suppose if these are the two cells A and B. Suppose higher so the cell A has higher water potential and cell B has lower water potential. In this condition, now water moves from A to B. Whenever water moves from this cell to this cell becomes, it is turgid. A type of pressure increases in this cell. A cell lo oka rakamayinatuvanti pressure increase avutu untundi. That pressure is known as Turgor pressure. So when there is any increase in the atmospheric pressure, the water potential of that system will become increased. So water moves from one cell to another cell. Whenever water enters into another cell, a pressure is increased within that cell. That pressure is called as Turgor pressure, like this. Suppose if water enters into this cell becomes swollen. Whenever water enters into this cell from all these directions, the cell becomes swollen and there is an increase in the pressure in that cell. That pressure operates on the cell walls. ఆ కణంలో ఒక రకమైన ప్రెషర్ ఇంక్రీజ్ అవుతుంది. ఆ ప్రెషర్ ఆ సెల్ వాల్స్ మీద పనిచేస్తున్నది. And that pressure is known as TP, Turgor pressure. So now the pressure increases inside the cell. That pressure operates on the cell walls. If this the situation is continued for some time, and we can conclude or we can infer that the cell walls may become burst. కణక ఇలాగ లోపల నుంచి ప్రెషర్ అలా కణకవచాల మీద పడుతూ ఉంటే ఆ కణకవచాలన్నీ పగిలిపోయే ప్రమాదం వస్తుంది. ద సెల్ విల్ బికమ్ బర్స్ట్. సెల్ పగిలిపోతుంది. కానీ అలాగా ప్లాంట్ సెల్స్ ఎప్పుడు కూడా పగలవు. వాటర్ లోపలికి వెళ్తున్నా సరే అవి పగలకుండా ఉంటున్నాయంటే దానికి కారణం, ద రీజన్ ఈస్ ది వాల్. ఇక్కడ వాల్ ఉంటుంది కదా, దిస్ వాల్ ఆల్సో ఎగ్జర్ట్స్ ఈక్వల్ అండ్ ఆపోజిట్ ప్రెషర్. లోపల నుండి సైటోప్లాజము సెల్ వాల్ మీద పనిచేస్తుంది. దట్ ప్రెషర్ ఈజ్ నోన్ యాజ్ Turgor pressure. At the same time, a pressure is created by the cell walls that operates from outside to inside. That pressure is known as wall pressure, WP. At any time, the TP is always equal to WP. కణం లోపల నుంచి పైకి పనిచేస్తుండేటువంటి Turgor pressure, కణం పైనుంచి లోపలికి పనిచేస్తుండేటువంటి వాల్ ప్రెషర్ రెండు ఈక్వల్గా ఉంటాయి. సో బై దిస్ ఈక్వాలిటీ ద సెల్ రిమైన్స్ ఇంటాక్ట్. కణాలు అలా పగలకుండా అలా ఉండిపోతాయి. సపోజ్ ఇఫ్ దేర్ ఇస్ నో వాల్ ప్రెషర్, ది రిజల్ట్ ఈస్ ద సెల్ బికమ్ బర్స్ట్. కణాలు పగిలిపోతాయి. కానీ అలా పగలకుండా ఉంటుందంటే ద రీజన్ ఈస్ there is an equal and opposite pressure is operating from the cell wall, and both these pressures are counteracted with each other and the cell remains intact. Now this cell is said to be in a turgid condition. ఇప్పుడు ఈ సెల్ ని టర్జిడ్ కండిషన్ లో ఉందే చెప్తారు. Whenever the cell is said to be in a turgid condition, this cell exhibits growth and development. So as a whole, as a conceptual information, you can remember that plants exhibit growth and development. The reason is because of this turgidity of the cells. Plants ki turgidity eppudu vastundi? When they are filled with water. అప్పుడు సెల్ వాల్స్ అన్నీ కూడా ఎక్స్టెండ్ అయ్యి ఉంటాయి అన్నమాట, వ్యాపించిస్తూ ఉంటాయి. దాన్ని Turgor pressure అని అంటారు. అండ్ నౌ దిస్ Turgor pressure, nowadays this Turgor pressure is also this TP, we can also now call it as pressure potential. టర్గర్ ప్రెషర్ని ప్రెషర్ పొటెన్షియల్ అనే పేరుతో పిలుస్తారు. దిస్ ప్రెషర్ పొటెన్షియల్ ఈజ్ ఆల్వేస్ పాజిటివ్. So far we have discussed about three types of potentials: water potential, solute potential and pressure potential. Water potential and solute potentials are always negative, but this pressure potential is always positive and it can be measured in bars or megapascals, and it is always positive in the case of plant cells which are surrounded by cell walls. Suppose if it is a xylem, suppose xylem vessel this is a xylem vessel, it is opened at both of its ends. So in the case of xylem vessel, this IP is negative. Other concept too you have to bear in mind. This IP value is always positive in all types of tissues except in xylem, where the xylem vessels are opening at both the ends, where the turgor pressure or the pressure potential is always negative. But for this, in all other systems, the pressure potential is always positive. So we can construct a formula for making all these three. All these three, now these three are essential for the absorption of water, and that can be represented by this equation. And that equation will be as follows: psi W is equal to psi S plus psi P. This is the equation, and this equation is very important. If we know these things, if we know these two, we can calculate the water potential value of that particular cell, and basing on this water potential we can say that it is magnitude of water potential, and by that water is absorbed by the plant cells. And these three are important: water potential, solute potential and pressure potential. These three are correlated, or they can be represented by means of this equation, and all these three are important for the absorption of water. Plant water relationships, we have just seen about the importance of water potential, solute potential and pressure potential. Along with these three, there is another process called osmosis, is also essential for the absorption of water by the root system from the soil. Osmosis is a phenomenon. It is nothing but the movement of solvent molecules. It applies only to solvent molecules. You please bear in mind, solvent molecules. The movement of solvent. What is solvent? Solvent here is water. So the movement of water molecules from its region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration, when they are separated by means of a differentially permeable membrane. So for this osmosis, a differentially permeable membrane, DPM. A differentially permeable membrane is required for the movement of this osmosis. This membrane sometimes we can also call it as semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable membrane, SPM, semi-permeable membrane, DPM, SPM. And there is also another type of membrane called permeable membrane, PM, permeable membrane. And another one is impermeable membrane. IPM. అలాగా membranes different types లో ఉంటాయి. But for our osmosis, the membrane that we require is differentially permeable membrane. It allows only solvent molecules to pass through from its region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. Semi-permeable means it allows some solute molecules also along with the solvent molecules. Permeable membrane means it allows all types of solutes and solvents to pass through it. Impermeable, it won't allow any type of movement of any solute or solvent. So for our osmosis, this differentially permeable membrane is required. So definition of osmosis is very important. So the movement of solvent molecules from a region of their higher concentration to the region of the lower concentration through a differentially semi-permeable membrane is called as osmosis. This osmosis is very important in the plant body. This is the plant cell. Plant cell is surrounded by a cell wall and it is followed by a cell membrane. Cell wall and PM, plasma membrane. There is a central vacuole, nucleus in ఉంటుంది. This is vacuole. This is cytoplasm. Now water moves in this direction. So for the movement of water by osmosis, there are two determinants. One is cell membrane and first one is the plasma membrane and the second one is vacuolar membrane. So there is a central vacuole inside the plant cell. This vacuole is surrounded by a membrane called tonoplast. We can also call it as vacuolar membrane. And these two, cell membrane and the water, first of all it has to pass through the plasma membrane and later on it enters into the vacuole. ఇక్కడ సెల్ ముందు వాటర్ ముందు సైటోప్లాజంలోకి ఎంటర్ అయ్యి ఆ తర్వాత వాక్యూమ్లోకి వెళ్తుంది అన్నమాట. సో దీస్ ఆర్ ది టూ డిటర్మినెంట్స్. సెల్ మెంబ్రేన్ అండ్ వాక్యులర్ మెంబ్రేన్ ఆర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ డిటర్మినెంట్స్ ఆఫ్ మూవ్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ మాలిక్యూల్స్. ఇది ఆస్మాసిస్కి ఇది ఒక ఇంపార్టెంట్ కాన్సెప్ట్. సో ది నెట్ డైరెక్షన్ ఆఫ్ మూమెంట్, వాటర్ ఎప్పుడు కూడా పైనుంచి లోపలికే వెళ్ళాలి. దాని ఏమంటాం, ది నెట్ డైరెక్షన్ and rate of osmosis depends on both the pressure gradient and concentration of the solvent. ఎప్పుడు కూడా osmosis జరగాలంటే the outer solution, the outer system, it should have higher solvent concentration. So concentration gradient ఉండాలి, at the same time pressure gradient కూడా ఉండాలి. Water always moves from a region of higher osmotic pressure to the lower osmotic pressure. So for osmosis, these two things are essential. First one is cell membrane and vacuolar membrane are important determinants of movement of water. The second concept is the net direction and rate of osmosis depends on both the pressure gradient and concentration of the solvent. So osmosis జరగాలంటే పైన ఉండే సొల్యూషన్ కాన్సంట్రేషన్, సాల్వెంట్ కాన్సంట్రేషన్ ఎప్పుడు కూడా ఎక్కువగా ఉండాలి. And this osmosis explained by means of this experiment ఉంటుంది. ఎక్స్పెరిమెంట్ ద్వారా ఈ ఆస్మోసిస్ మనం we can explain. This is Thiessen funnel, and this Thiessen funnel is filled with concentrated solution and its mouth is tied with egg membrane, and this entire Thiessen funnel is placed in a beaker containing water. This is water. Thiessen funnel ni concentrated solution to నింపాలి. ఇది dilute, ఇది concentrated. And Thiessen funnel mouth ni egg membrane తో tie చేయాలి. And now this entire Thiessen funnel is placed in a beaker containing water. Now we can set this experiment, and if we keep this experiment for about, first of all we have to note the level. ఇక్కడ level note చేస్తాం L1. ఆ తీసిన పన్నెండులో ఆ సొల్యూషన్ లెవెల్ ని నోట్ చేస్తాం, దట్ ఈస్ L1. If we keep this experiment for about 30 minutes, after 30 minutes, if we observe the experiment, we can observe there is an increase in its level. ఈ లెవెల్ ఉంది కదా, ఈ లెవెల్ ఇలా పెరుగుతుంది అన్నమాట, and that is it. So we can observe the increase in the level of the solution in the stem of the thistle funnel, and this increase in the level indicates osmosis. That is, we can explain like this. Now water from the beaker, because here the concentration of the water is more, so it is diluted. So now water from the beaker enters into the thistle funnel through the semi-egg membrane, and gradually there is a rise in the solution level inside the thistle funnel. This rise is due to osmosis, and there is a pressure is also observed in this. That pressure is called osmotic pressure. Suppose if you want to inhibit this process, suppose ఇక్కడ రైస్ కాకుండా మనం చేయాలనుకోండి, if we apply a pressure, పైన ఒక ప్రెషర్ని అప్లై చేస్తారు. ముందు L1 నోట్ చేసి ఇక్కడ ఒక ప్రెషర్ని నోట్ చేస్తాం. Piston, this is called piston. If you want to know the osmotic pressure, then we have to apply an opposite pressure from outside by the help of a piston. So if we place this piston at the L1 level, after 30 minutes we can observe there is no increase, there is no any increase in the level. ఆ L1 ఎక్కడైతే మనం పెట్టామో L1 దగ్గర అలాగే ఉండిపోతుంది ఆ సొల్యూషన్ లెవెల్, there is no increase, further increase. So this pressure we have created outside, we have exerted outside. This pressure, it inhibits the process of osmosis. So the pressure that is required to inhibit the process of osmosis, we can calculate it as osmotic pressure. The osmotic pressure, the pressure that we have exerted from outside, and that pressure is always higher than the atmospheric pressure. And with that pressure, we can prevent the process of entry of water molecules from outside. So this pressure is always, it is called as osmotic pressure, and the value of this osmotic pressure is also positive. And with this we can also measure how much osmotic pressure is required for the movement of these water molecules from outside to the inside. And this experiment is known as thistle funnel experiment. There is also another experiment that is called as potato osmoscope experiment also is there to demonstrate the process of osmosis. So only by this osmosis plants are able to absorb water from the soil with the help of the root hair, where the root hair acts as an osmometer, and this is how this osmosis also helps. And for osmosis to occur, the outer solution ఎప్పుడు కూడా తక్కువ కాన్సంట్రేషన్ లో ఉండాలి, ఇన్నర్ సొల్యూషన్ ఎప్పుడు కూడా హైయర్ కాన్సంట్రేషన్ లో ఉండాలి. The water that is kept outside of low concentration is known as hypotonic. This is known as hypotonic. The solution that is kept outside, which is having a lower concentration, is known as hypotonic. A thistle funnel వేసేది ఎప్పుడు కూడా we have to take a concentrated solution, we can call it as hypertonic. So when we place a cell in hypotonic solution, then only osmosis takes place. అంటే సెల్ హైపర్టానిక్ అయి ఉండాలి, అవుట్ సైడ్ లో హైపోటానిక్ ఉండాలి. సో 3 types of solutions. First one, hypotonic. Second one is hypertonic. Third one is isotonic. A solution of low concentration is isotonic. A solution of high concentration is isotonic. A solution of similar concentration is isotonic. If we place a cell in hypotonic solution, we can come across with this phenomenon called osmosis. Water will move from low concentration to higher concentration. If we place a cell in hypertonic, అంటే higher concentrated ప్లాంట్ తీసుకొని ఉప్పు నీటిలో పెట్టామనుకోండి, సోడియం క్లోరైడ్ సొల్యూషన్లో ప్లాంట్లో ఉండే నీరంతా బయటకు వచ్చేస్తుంది. సో ఇఫ్ యూ ప్లేస్ a cell in higher concentration, a phenomenon called plasmolysis will occur. Plasmolysis దీన్నే exosmosis అని అంటారు. Exosmosis. Osmosis is also called endosmosis. If we place a cell in a solution of similar concentration, రెండు కాన్సంట్రేషన్స్ ఈక్వల్గా ఉన్నాయనుకోండి, no osmosis or no plasmolysis will occur. So based on the concentrations, we can classify these solutions into these three types. ఇక్కడ క్వశ్చన్స్ అడుగుతూ ఉంటారు. If we place a cell in a hypotonic solution, what will happen? Osmosis will occur. If we place a cell in hypertonic solution, what will occur? Plasmolysis will occur, and water from the cell will come out. If we place a cell in isotonic solution, no action, there is no any action, no plasmolysis, no osmosis will occur.